Tonight, we take a long-view look at American power and American judgment. What have been the best foreign policy decisions in U.S. history, and which ones did the most damage? This is not a political opinion piece. It's a historical assessment drawn from a large survey conducted by the Council on Foreign Relations, which asked more than 350 professional historians to evaluate the most consequential U.S. foreign policy decisions since the founding of the Republic. These historians reviewed more than 100 major decisions, wars, treaties, alliances, and diplomatic strategies, and ranked the 10 best and 10 worst based on long-term impact on U.S. interests, global stability, and American values. Tonight, we walk through the most important lessons from that list and why they still matter today. To understand these rankings, it's important to understand what historians were judging. They were not scoring presidents on popularity or political success. They were asking a harder question. Did these decisions strengthen the United States over time, or did they weaken it? Did they create stability or chaos? Did they expand American influence or drain it? Let's begin with what historians consider the best foreign policy decisions in U.S. history. One decision consistently ranked near the top is the Marshall Plan. After World War II, Europe was devastated. Entire economies were broken, infrastructure destroyed, and political instability threatened to open the door for extremist movements. The United States chose a path that was unprecedented at the time. Instead of retreating or exploiting weakness, it invested massive resources into rebuilding former allies and even former enemies. The Marshall Plan did more than rebuild Europe. It stabilized democracies, strengthened long-term alliances, and helped create a U.S.-led global economic system that endured for decades. Historians see this as a defining moment where American power was used strategically, not just militarily. Another top-ranked decision was U.S. leadership in creating the United Nations. After 2 world wars, American leaders recognized that isolation was no longer an option. The United Nations was designed to provide a forum for diplomacy, conflict resolution, and collective security. The UN has often been criticized, sometimes fairly, but historians argue that its existence has helped prevent large-scale global wars and provided a framework for international cooperation that did not exist before. Closely related is the creation of NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization established a clear principle. An attack on one member would be considered an attack on all. This alliance helped deter Soviet expansion during the Cold War and continues to shape global security today. Historians credit NATO with preventing direct conflict between major powers in Europe for more than 70 years. Another highly ranked decision goes all the way back to the founding era, the Treaty of Alliance with France in 1778. At the time, the American colonies were fighting for survival against the British Empire. Securing French military and financial support changed the course of the Revolutionary War. Historians see this as an early example of effective diplomacy, aligning with a powerful partner to achieve a clear strategic objective. The Truman Doctrine also ranks among the best decisions. By committing to support nations resisting authoritarian expansion, the United States signaled that it would play an active role in shaping the post-war world. While the doctrine later contributed to controversial interventions, historians argue that at the time it helped stabilize key regions and define U.S. leadership during the early Cold War. Taken together, these decisions share a common theme. They emphasize alliances, long-term planning, and a recognition that American strength is amplified when it works with others. Now, let's turn to the other side of the ledger. The worst foreign policy decisions in U.S. history, according to historians, are defined by overreach, poor planning, or moral failure. At the top of the worst list is the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Historians point to multiple failures: flawed intelligence, unclear objectives, and a lack of planning for what would come after the fall of Saddam Hussein. The war destabilized the region, cost hundreds of thousands of lives, strained U.S. alliances, and damaged American credibility on the global stage. Even historians who supported the initial invasion argue that its execution represents one of the most damaging strategic miscalculations in modern U.S. history. Vietnam War also ranks near the top of the worst decisions. What began as limited involvement escalated into a long, costly conflict without a clear path to victory. The war divided the American public, eroded trust in government, and exposed the limits of military power when political goals are poorly defined. Historians see Vietnam as a cautionary tale about intervention without realistic strategy or public accountability. Another decision ranked among the worst is the set of policies known as Indian removal. These policies forcibly displaced Native American nations from their ancestral lands, leading to immense human suffering and long-term injustice. Historians emphasize that foreign policy is not only about borders and wars abroad. It also reflects how a nation treats people under its authority. Indian removal stands as a moral failure with consequences that persist today. Historians also criticize repeated failures to plan for the aftermath of wars. From World War I peace negotiations to more recent conflicts, the United States has sometimes won militarily but failed diplomatically. Power vacuums, regional instability, and unintended consequences often followed. Finally, historians point to moments when the United States withdrew from international commitments or undermined alliances without clear alternatives. Such decisions, they argue, weakened U.S. influence and invited strategic competition from rivals. Across the worst decisions, a pattern emerges. Ambition outpaced preparation. Short-term goals overshadowed long-term consequences. So what do these rankings tell us today? They suggest that American power works best when it is deliberate, cooperative, and grounded in realistic planning. They also show that military strength alone does not guarantee success, and that mistakes can echo for generations. As the United States navigates a world defined by great power competition, regional conflict, and rapid technological change, these historical lessons remain highly relevant. Foreign policy decisions made today will be judged decades from now, just as these have been. History does not offer simple answers, but it does offer warnings and guidance. That's the lesson historians want policymakers and the public to remember.